Yo, what is up? In this video here, I'm going to show you the Gravity Mage build that I have been playing with. It's a lot of fun. Now, this is just the blueprint for this particular build. Doesn't mean that you only need to use these and you shouldn't try to use other things in combination with these. This is just a blueprint. I am level 150 with this character. So if you want to go higher than that, you could put stats into different areas from what I'm going to show you. You could put stats in different areas even with what I show you and still play 150. And I'll talk about some examples of reason why you may want to do that here in a second. So first off, we'll get started with the outfits. None of this matters other than this hood right here. Now, this is the Navy hood, and this will give you +1 mind. Mind is going to be your FP. That's your focus power. That's what is going to allow you to cast spells. You got to have, a certain FP number to cast spells. We're a Gravity Mage, so there are 5 gravity spells that we will be casting. So, I have 128 FP currently because I had this medallion right here, which I normally don't use. I just had that for a certain boss that I was playing before making this video. So with that said, you could use any of the robes, the gloves, or the trousers that you want. Now, if you don't care about heavy rolling, you could add a little more protection, go with something like, I like this knight armor. I think it looks really good. You could do the red mane. You could even go with Radagon's because we're a Gravity Mage. So he uses gravity magic. So if you don't care about the heavy rolling, same thing with the gloves. Use whatever gloves you feel fit your style. I think these ones look kind of dope. Trousers, go with them or without them. I'm using the Battle Mage robe, so really don't need pants. But the Navy hood, though, is the essential item that you need. Now, up here in your first hand or right hand, you want to have the Carian Regal Scepter. I have that up to +10. And then in my offhand, I have the Meteorite Staff. Now, we are using gravity magic, so if you look at the bottom here in the middle, passive effect, boost gravity sorcery. So I keep this in my offhand to boost my gravity magic, even though I'm casting with the right hand, because this one actually scales better with my stats, with the dexterity and intelligence being S and D versus something like loadout, where it only scales with intelligence and strength. I don't have that much strength. I don't get any boost from the dex. Now, the numbers look like they're better here with loadout. Take my word for it. The other one does more damage for the spells that we will be casting. Right here, I have a dagger. I put the keen effect on it. You could really put whatever you wanted. I just went with the keen because it scales with dex. It has S tier with dex, and because I have 40 dexterity, it gets that S tier. And then I have the Bastard's Stars. I use this weapon for certain situations. It does have a weapon effect, like a gravity weapon effect, nebula, because you are going to get this from the Natural Born of the Void, which uses the same gravity magic when you fight that boss or that enemy. So, this attack leaves a dark cloud of stars in its wake that lingers and then they explode. So it falls right in line with the gravity attacks, or kind of that Cosmo type mage that I am going with. Now, I talked about some of the stats, so I'll go over those real quick. We can look at the status here. I have 50 in vigor. Honestly, 60 is ideal, so if you don't care about going over 150, put 60 into vigor. Mind definitely could be higher. I definitely wouldn't complain if I had 30 mind or 40 mind, just because you're casting some of these spells. These gravity spells do have a high amount of FP cost, so the more FP or the more mind I have, the more FP I have. That means the more times I can cast before I have to drink a flask. Endurance at 11, strength at 14, dex at 40, and that is a super important stat because that is going to determine how fast, or that is going to aid in how fast you are able to actually cast spells. So the higher the dex, the higher the casting speed. Now, there is a soft cap or whatnot with that. I have a video showing the difference between 11 between, I think it's either 40 or 60, and then 99 dex, showing you how much faster the casting time is in terms of like frames per second. Like I slowed it down and showed it. I will link that in the description if you want to watch that video, just to show you that it does help. And then intelligence 80. This is an intelligence based build. The weapons that we use all scale off of intelligence. So, you know, you want at least 60 there, but 80 is ideal. So, you know, maybe if you wanted to add a little more mind, maybe even a little more vigor, maybe even a little more dex, maybe strength. You know, let's say, hey, you want to use a different weapon instead of bastard stars. You know, you could take some of your intelligence, take that down to 60, and then of course you could equip, you know, a different helmet that gives you like +3 or +6 intelligence. You know, some of those weapon or some of those items do cause you to have, you know, either less HP, less stamina, damage. You know, maybe your damage negation is lower with some of those items, but it will increase like your intelligence. I have a video on that as well, which I will link in the description also. Some of the other items that you can use in the game if you don't want to use what I have right here. So you have some different Ashes of War. Now I have Golden Vow on the Keen Dagger. So what I will do before I cast or before I get ready to fight a boss, I will hit this, like, you know, right before I go through the fog door, maybe right when I enter the fog door, hit that Golden Vow, and then switch back to my Carian, whatchamacallit, my Carian Scepter. I wanted to say staff, my Carian Scepter, you know, so I hit that because what this does is going to give you 15% increase in damage and then a 10% increase in damage negation. So you're going to get that boost. So you definitely want to have the dagger. It's very lightweight, one of the, you know, more light weapons in the game, and it allows you to put the Ash of War on it. So that's really cool. Right here, you have this gravity spell. It's an Ash of War called Gravitas. I don't know how you say that. Gravitas, I'll just pronounce it like that. So you can put this on a couple different weapons. I put it on the magic short sword again because it is, you know, a lighter weapon. And then I have a keen longsword here just to put something different on here. It has the Cragblade, which also is a gravity skill that manipulates gravity. Bury the armament in the ground, pulling rocks from earth to reinforce it. And then right here, this is the Alabaster Lords. So who had Skin of Stone, thrust the armament into the ground to create a gravity well. So like I said, you know, this is using gravity magic right here. You do have some other weapons here. So you have the Ruins Greatsword. This is a gravity item. And then you have Radagon's weapon right here, which is a gravity infused sword. So with this one right here, the requirement for it, you know, I don't meet that requirement. You do need to have 38 strength. And then this one right here, you have to have 50 strength. So again, if you want to go over 150, you could apply some of your stats or attribute points into strength, and then you could wield these weapons instead of the Bastard's Stars. I use the Bastard Stars. Again, this is Nebula Stars, does the Nebula, which is gravity damage. You have the Full Moon Crossbow. This one is not really a gravity item, but because it, you know, whatever, the Full Moon Crossbow, you know, cosmos, gravity, stars, whatnot, I just put that there. For the shields, I don't think there is any weapon that has an Ash of War, like a gravity Ash of War for shield. Not that I know of. Maybe there is, and I'm wrong. You can correct me in the comments if so, but I don't believe that there is. You know, that's pretty much it right there, though. Like, you know, like I said, using only these 5 spells, it's not ideal, but if you want to role play with just like a Gravity Mage, only using them, it's possible to beat every boss with the 5. So I only use 4 of the spells. There are 5. It is possible to beat every boss in the game. I mean, honestly, you can beat every boss in the game with every weapon. You know, it's just a matter of practicing against them, hitting your openings, whatnot, getting that separation to cast some of these spells. But, you know, if you want to have a sword and maybe like a fast R1, do that. You know, if you want something does a little more damage, build up the strength, and then equip one of these. Of course, you build up like endurance and strength so that you have more poise, you have more equipment load, you have more strength to wield some of these weapons. You may not even have to go up to like 38 for the Ruins Greatsword, because you could add a talisman to give you some strength, or you could put on gear that maybe gives you strength, whatnot. So, maybe you go up to 28 and then, add 10 with alternative means, if you will. And then for the talisman, now I have this equipped right now, but normally I use Radagon's Icon because that shortens the spell casting time. So the gravity spells are a longer casting spell, so any way you can speed up that cast time is ideal. That's why the dex is super important for that. And then also too, you have the Carian Regal Scepter, which scales off of dex as well. You're only required to have 10, so it is what it is. You don't need any dex for the Meteorite, but obviously the more dex you have, the better the weapon will scale and the more damage you could do. Because a lot of that's more important. Like the scaling is more important for the damage than actually what your level is. Another thing right here, arrows reach talisman. Now this one is very good for rock sling. Rock sling is going to be your main spell that you cast as a gravity mage, and this gives it a lot more range than you would normally have. So the idea of this build is you want to have distance between you and the enemy, you and the boss. So there may be an enemy, if you see it light up, you may not have the arrows reach talisman, but you might be able to target them, and without it, it might not reach. With it, it will reach. So, it's the difference between like 2-3 inches. If you don't think that matters, go ask your girl, your wife. Giggity, I'm kidding. But it does make a huge difference, as far as spells reaching. I have the Graven-School Talisman and the Graven-Mass Talisman equipped. Both of those raise the potency of sorceries. I recommend both of them. And then the Radagon Icon. Again, I feel like Arrows Reach Talisman and Radagon Icon, this is like, as far as bosses go, these two are alternative to other, different talisman that you could equip. Believe it or not, the Ritual Sword Talisman is one that you could equip that will raise attack power when HP is max. So starting off with a boss like Millennia, you have this equipped instead of maybe Radagon Icon, and you get a little more damage out of it. Maybe you want to keep the effective bow range so that you can hit her before you engage in her. If you're fast enough with it, you know how to switch your talisman. You'll see a lot of good players are constantly swapping them out after you attack her 2-3 times. Swap out that Ritual Sword Talisman, put Radagon Icon back in there. You could also use something like the Carian Filigree Crest to lower the FP consumed by skills. So you cast that, like Bastard Star skill, and it's going to use a little bit less of your FP cost. Then you have the one that I had equipped initially, the Cerulean Amber Medallion +2. This gives you like plus, let's see, FP goes 116 to 128. So that is giving me like a boost of 12 FP, which is honestly probably the difference in being able to cast one more spell. So let's say, you cast in Rock Sling. I think you get like 5 cast with it. You drink a flask, you cast 5 more. You have this particular medallion right here, you're going to have a little bit left over. So you drink a flask, and instead of being able to cast, 10 between, one flask, you'll get 11 between, one flask, if that makes sense. You cast, you run out, you drink, and then you cast 6 times instead of 5. That second go round. So definitely helpful. And then you have other things right here. Raise, like right here, you could raise your attributes. Now this is going to raise intelligence, faith, arcane, and mind. This one right here, this is going to raise your dex, your strength, your endurance, and your vigor. Now we look at this one right here. This raises FP from 116 to 142. This one right here raises it 116 to 131. This one's not going to raise your FP, but this is going to give you more stamina, give you more HP, going to give you more dexterity so you can cast faster. And then you have stuff like this, raise strength. I talked about, maybe you want to use a different weapon and put a different Ash of War on it other than the ones that I've shown. You know, there's different of these talisman that you can equip. Maybe you don't want to put 85 or 80 into intelligence, so you could go 75 and then equip this and be at that 80 like hard cap. You know, I mean, you can go up to 99. To be honest, you're going to do more damage. It's just going to be like the difference between 99 and 80 is so small, it's really not worth it. That's why people are like, oh, hard cap, soft cap. But I mean, honestly, for me, the soft cap is 99s across the board. Like, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have like my main mage that I play with on both PlayStation and PC is like 400 and something, like the level. You know, I just keep leveling it up because I'm not going to delete the character. I'm just playing with it. But then, you know, there's other ones, you know, I mean, someone that does physical damage, a boss, maybe you want to equip this. You get the idea. Let's talk about the spells now. I've rambled on long enough about that. So these are the spells that we're going to have. I'm going to equip this one as well. This is Meteorite. It's basically the same thing as Meteorite of Estelle. Let me put those side by side. Let's get rid of that, and we'll put these two side by side. So this is going to be your bread and butter, the rock sling. This is going to break stances. This is going to stagger enemies. This is going to knock them. Like, it does a lot of damage. It's one of the best spells in the game overall. Not even just one of the best gravity spells. Just overall, it's definitely in the top 5 for best spells. This right here, it does a lot of damage. Gravity Well is okay. It's a low FP spell. A lot of times, like, you can cast like the Rock Sling, like I said, like you can go in there, hit the Golden Vow, and then you can cast Rock Sling like 4 or 5 times before you need to drink a flask. You usually have enough left over to cast the Gravity Well one time. You know, like I said, you could put the, you know, the Cerulean medallion on, like for the talisman, and get that extra cast, you know, and then you don't have to worry about that. But, you know, whatever. Collapsing Stars is really good. This one is very fast. It's not a fast casting spell, but like once you cast it, it just swarms the enemy. So it's really good for a certain type of enemies that you'll find in caves, whatnot. It does do quite a bit of damage. I like it. Meteorite, I don't ever even keep this equipped because I might as well just cast Meteorite of Estelle. Now, this has half the FP cost of the Meteorite of Estelle, and it only uses 1 slot versus the 2. It's just, this only casts like 3 rocks. So it's basically, this is 2, this is 3, this is like 6 or 5 or something like that. But it just keeps, you can hold down your cast, and it's just going to continually cast this Meteorite of Estelle, which is really good. It's one of the stronger spells in the game. You throw something like magic, what is it, Terra Magica or whatnot in there, and I believe Terra Magica gives you, I think it's a 35% increase to damage for 30 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you're going to get 30 seconds, and it's going to give you a plus 35 boost to magic damage. So, you know, we're casting magic spells here, so you get that boost for that short duration of time. And then the next up is the mix, or the Wondrous Physick Mix Flask. Man, it's like a tongue twister. So I have the Cerulean Hidden Tier, and then I have the Crimson Whirl Bubble Tier. Now, these right here, optional. Again, I do think this one is probably necessary because for 15 seconds, you're going to be able to cast whatever spell you want. So you want to do the Meteorite of Estelle, like say Melania, when she does her second phase and she's in that flower, you could drink that flask and then you could just bombard her with the Meteorite of Estelle for 15 seconds. Now, what this does, this converts non-physical damage into HP. So as an example, she cast her like rot, like the flower spits up all that rot dust or whatever. Any type of non-physical damage, it's going to convert it into HP. So even though you're taking like some scarlet rot, it's gonna, and you're losing a little bit of health, every time it hits you, it's gonna be converting it back to HP. So you're almost gonna be invincible for the 15 seconds that this Physick tier lasts. So these two physics combined, it's almost like you're invincible here for a short period of time. Like I said, 15 seconds. Honestly, you could swap this out for maybe something like this, where you temporarily boost the magic. You know, you're going to get a little more magic damage. You could even do this, restore some FP. You could, you know, increase your stamina. I mean, there's so more likely to break a stance, equip this and just throw rock slings at Melania or something like that, where you can just keep doing them and not worry about the FP, and maybe you break her stance. I mean, there's so many. This one right here enhances charge attacks. Pretty sure that works with the Meteorite of Estelle, because that is a charge attack. You're just holding down, you know, your bumper and basically just deleting her for 15 seconds. So I'm not sure. I'm not positive on that one, but I believe it does work with it. Or you could, you know, do whatever else you want. You know, I'm only here to give you basically the blueprint. It's on you to choose what you like. So I'm going to show you how some of these spells work right here. So we're always going to cast with R1. So it's going to be like the right bumper. That is Rock Sling. Here goes Gravity Well. And then this is the Collapsing Stars. Like I said, this one's pretty fast and it does multiple damage. You see, it just zips in there. Here goes, let me drink a little bit of this. Here goes the Meteorite. Slow casting spell, but it does 3. So, you know, what's good about that, like if you wanted to keep that equipped, someone like Melania that dodges attacks, the thing about this is like, you know, they'll dodge to the right or left. Thing about it is look, you got 3 spells that are casting, so she might dodge to the right and she's going to get hit. She could dodge to the left and she might get hit. And then we have the Meteorite of Estelle. This is the bread and butter for a lot of bosses that will just delete them. You know, obviously you go ahead and drink your flask, and then I'll just show you, and then you could just cast this. And it's just throwing meteorites everywhere. No FP is being consumed right now. Now I'm starting to use that FP. Like I said, that one is just so good. It's just such a good spell, you know, with the gravity spell right here. And then you have stuff like Golden Vow. So like I said, like with Golden Vow, normally I'll do like this. And then I'll just switch back to my my Carian Scepter here. And then I'm just getting that boost to damage, you know, with it. And that lasts like 30 seconds. So, you know, I can keep, or I think it lasts a minute. The Golden Vow may last a minute. And then here's the Bastard Stars right here. This attack is really nice because it's like a melee attack, and then it does like explosive damage all around. So this is an R2 attack right here. This is the R1 attack, quick attack with it. And then this is going to be your weapon art, your L2. And you can hit Melania with that, just roll backwards after you cast it. Because it will melee her, like, you know, it will melee her, and it has a pretty broad range. Like you see, it's like a wide boom. Basically from the whole right of the screen to like about here. Like it's, I mean, you see the weapon art from now to there. From like, it literally went from that, this little stone cat imp to this bloodstain. It was about how wide it was, you know, the melee attack. And then, you know, also too, you have someone in here. There's going to be some bosses that are really hard to get some of these spells off. You know, you could always cast with your offhand and use the dagger if you have to, you know. I mean, the Bastard Star, that one is a little bit, it's not quite as fast, but, you know, I mean, you have other options in here that can do damage. I mean, I feel Bastard Stars is pretty good, to be honest. Like it's the one that I use the most, to be honest. Like, you know, I carry that a lot. It does good melee damage with it, and then the weapon art on it is really good as well. It doesn't really consume that much FP, but with that said, you know, that's pretty much like the full that's the Gravity Mage, you know. Let me see, let's go to an area. This is like my favorite area to go to. So we'll just come here and we'll attack some of these little albinuric alien looking cloned. What is this, the 2nd or 3rd generation albinuric? So I'll hit him with the Bastard Star first, just to show you. I'm going to lock on him and it'll hit the guy next to him. You see, it's got a pretty wide range. Like I can lock onto this guy and it'll still hit the guy to the right here. basically killed both of those, even though I was only locked on to one of them. So it is a really strong weapon, really good. It does good damage. And then some of these other spells right here, I'll just show you. Oh, I know what I want to show you. I want to show you the difference. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna take this off, and we'll just equip something. We'll do a little more magic here. So I'm gonna stand right here. I don't have the arrow talisman on, so let's go ahead and try to hit him right here and see if it reaches. Did not reach, right? Now we're going to equip the arrow talisman. The arrows reach talisman. We're going to wait for him to disappear. Now you see I'm in the same spot. I haven't moved. And then I'll cast. And it deleted them. Boom. That's why you want the arrow's talisman. So if the enemy is farther away, you see how without the talisman, I was locked onto the enemy, but they fell short. And then I put the arrow talisman on, and it was able to reach the enemy and delete them. So that's why you want the arrow talisman. You know, like I said, you get into a catacomb boss, it's a little small area. You don't really need it because it'll reach across the room from one end to the other, front to back. So you could take it off before you go into the fight, you know, take that off and equip something that is going to give you more damage, you know, with your spells. But you have someone that's far away, you know, maybe take off Radagon Icon and add, you know, something that does a little more damage with the gravity spells. But what I recommend is probably like the Ritual Sword Talisman at full health to start off with. You know, depending on how far away the enemy is, you know, that the arrows reach talisman. And you definitely keep these because this one is going to raise the potency. You're going to do more damage with these. Like you can stack on both of them. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to only put one, definitely put this one. That gives you the more damage. But the Graven-School Talisman is just as good, you know. And then, like I said, you got your flask right here. Now, I'm maxed out. This is new game, I think 1 or 2. So I have the 10 and 4. You really don't need that much health. You are going to go through a lot of FP, so you definitely want to cater to the FP side of the flask. But, you know, you can go 9.5, 8.6. I mean, 9.5 is probably what I would go with for, like, bosses like Millennia. Because, you know, if you get hit, you know, you're going to want health. But that's why I have 50 vigor. That's why you want to go up to 60. I mean, that's basically at level 150, you should have 60 vigor. You know, I see people debating about that. I mean, I'm just telling you, that's what you should have. If you go over 150, definitely put 60. You know, definitely if you're going to put more attribute points into your build, maybe you go up to 175, 180, you know, 200. Definitely at least put 60 vigor right there. You know, anything over that, like 61 to 80, you only get +5 for each stat. Like, you know, 61, 62, 63, it's going to be 5 health for each point. 61 is 5, 62 would be 10, 63 would be 15. That's the video, Gravity Mage. If you have any questions or comments, drop those down below. That's the video. I'm out. Peace.